If your goal is to learn cybersecurity skills, especially defensive and offensive skills, then you need to know how to work with firewalls. Hello, my name is Howard, and in this video I'm going to share with you why you need a network-based firewall in your environment for learning, and also how to deploy one. I will share with you my favorite firewall, and I'll show you some of the services that I'm running on it. Hopefully that will help you get started on building your own firewall. So as you can see here, I have some DNS, data, and metrics. Being able to see things like this, data that is coming from your network devices, and having the awareness is going to be very important for your cybersecurity career, especially if you're on the defensive side. So data like this can be found and you can get it from a firewall. I have a network diagram here, and this is a typical network diagram for most people, where you have internet coming from your internet service provider, and then you have a firewall that also doubles as a router, and then sometimes you might have a separate switch, and you connect all your devices. And in this case, I encourage you to upgrade the one that came from your internet service provider. I'm talking about if they gave you a router, not their modem. Then put your own firewall that you can maintain. Find out how to do that. That's where we're talking about here. Make it your own perimeter firewall between your WAN and LAN. In my case, this firewall is actually connected to my home firewall. So I have two firewalls, one that services my home network and one that services my lab network. This way I can separate the two, and I'll show you in future videos how to do that. So what is a firewall? For those who don't know, a firewall is the gatekeeper. It's going to be the one that allows and disallows traffic based on certain rules that you create. So it's a very critical part of your infrastructure in your job environment. Having a firewall that's misconfigured can mean that a company can be easily compromised. So knowing how to work with firewall is going to be very important. So where do you get started? What kind of firewall do you need? Well, there are many ways to consider before you deploy a firewall. One of the ways is you can deploy it as a virtual machine. If you already have another firewall somewhere, you can deploy it as a physical hardware. In fact, right here, I have an example of an old desktop that I used to use as my home firewall. Right here are the two network interfaces. One of them was the WAN, one of them was the LAN. This is an old HP desktop that you can just pick up for like $30 or $50. That's what you can happen here. You can just pick up any old hardware and deploy a firewall. Well, which firewall are we talking about? We are talking about PFsense. And this is the best free open source firewall that you can deploy in your environment. I have personally deployed PFsense not only at my house, but I have also deployed it in some small to medium businesses using support from Netgate. It's a wonderful platform, and they even sell you hardware that's enterprise worthy if you are doing that. But the best reason to deploy PFsense is that it comes packed with a lot of services. Not only is it free, but you can deploy a lot of services like Suricata intrusion detection system right here. You might have seen some of my videos on this channel where I showed you how to work with Suricata. Well, you can have Suricata running on your firewall and then forward these logs to your Elastic SIEM. Super simple to set up. You can add it as a module. So that's one way. It's easy to work with. It's not a command line interface. You can just configure it very simply. If you go to Google and look up, here's NetSec. They have a guide here from 2019 that shows you step by step how to install PFsense firewall. So that's my firewall of choice is deploy PFsense. It doesn't matter whether you deploy it as a virtual machine or physical hardware. The main point is once you deploy it, you begin to use it for learning purposes. Right now, I'm running Suricata here, and if you go to services, Suricata, you will notice that I have it running on the LAN interface and on the WAN interface. I'll be able to show you how to deploy this once you install yours, but I just wanted to show you what can be done here. If I go to alerts, I can choose alerts from my LAN interface here, and as you can see, there's a bunch of traffic that's being seen. This was me running Nmap from a Kali Linux machine against my LAN interface for my PFSense. So this actually does work. and being able to deploy it and see it in action is going to be the best way for you to learn cybersecurity. So that's why you need a real firewall. In addition to that, the most important part is where you talk about creating some rules and aliases. This is where all the magic happens. Being able to know how to create a rule and what a firewall rule is and what it does is going to really help you understand what your firewall is doing and how your environment is protected. So I highly encourage you to consider using firewalls and also set up PFsense in your environment. If you need any help, please let me know. But going forward, as I work on these labs, this is where my logs are going to be coming from. You're going to be seeing this interface more often, and I wanted to let you know that you need to deploy a firewall, and if you don't have one. So let me know in the comments below if you already have a firewall and what firewall you're using, and if your firewall at your house is different than PFsense. I really like to know what you're using, because that's something that I really am passionate about. And remember to subscribe and like my videos. I really plan on bringing more value to your life, showing you different ways that we can learn cybersecurity. I will see you next time.